Welcome to this dotCMS website training for how to create a digital document. Once you've logged in to dotCMS, you're going to navigate to the Content tab and select for Search. This is going to bring us to the Content dashboard where you can then select for digital documents from this Type drop-down menu. This will then show you the different digital documents that are available in the system. And if you want to edit any of these, you'll be able to select the name of the document to then be able to edit it. Otherwise, for our purposes, this triple vertical dots button is what you want to select to create a new digital document. And you're going to select for Add New Content. This is going to open up a digital document dashboard, which will enable you to then get your document saved or published. Within this dashboard, there are several tabs, and so I'm going to go through what's applicable for you. In this Content tab, there are some fields that are highlighted red. These are required fields, and then there are also fields like this image field that are not highlighted red. The red highlighted fields are required. The not highlighted fields are optional or might not apply necessarily to this particular content type in the system. So let's get started. So for the host or folder, you're going to select the drop-down menu, select the plus sign, and then select the website folder that you have permissions to where this digital document is going to be saved. So if you have more than one folder, you'll need to select for which website folder you want to have that digital document saved within. So I'm going to select for demo. And then in terms of title, this is going to be the title of your digital document. Now, digital documents can be anything like a report, a paper, a booklet, a bulletin, a fact sheet, even a webinar recording. So depending on that content type, you might want to find it helpful to have that document open. So my document happens to be a PDF document, and it's a booklet. So I'm going to copy the name of my booklet and then paste that into the title field. And you'll notice that the URL title field automatically filled in as a result of filling in the title field. Now the summary field pertains to when you have a listing of digital documents, as this particular listing is. This is showing a listing of webinar recordings that are all digital documents. And so in this listing, this text that shows underneath the title and the publish date is that summary text. So it's literally just a teaser, an overview of what that document is going to be about if somebody is going to be interested in opening it up or not. So what I've done here is I have saved a short description, should be 256 characters or less, that provides that summary information. Can be, the first couple sentences of, the summary, executive summary of your document, just really quick overview. And then we get to this image field, and this image field is not required. However, it is highly recommended that you input an image into your image field. This can be helpful when showing the document in the listing, as is shown here. And this, again, happens to be webinar recordings. So this is a screen capture of one of the moments from that particular video. You can also have it where it's the front cover of that document. And again, here's another example of that. So to add in a new image, you're going to select the Browse button. This is going to bring up the Select a File window where you can select the plus sign. And then you're going to drill into your website folder where you're going to save your document and go to your Uploads and Images folder. This is where all the images on your site are saved. And if you have images here, you can select for them if they're the appropriate type for what you're attempting to post. In this particular instance, I don't have the front cover of my document uploaded to my site, so I need to actually get that image uploaded. So I'm going to select to upload new file. This is going to bring me to a place where I can select a button for select files to upload. This is then going to bring me to my computer files where I can then select for the actual image I'm looking for. So I have one here, front cover for the document that I'm working on. So I'm going to select that and select open. And now you can see here it's showing the name of that particular image to be uploaded. Next, there is this drop-down menu. When you select for that, you have a couple of different options. The two most common are to save or save and publish, save draft or save and publish. But a special note here, anytime you are uploading images or files, you always want to select for save and publish. If you just select for save draft and you attempt to publish your digital document, it's only going to save your image unpublished into the back end. And even though you select to publish your digital document, it won't actually publish it. So it'll show up as a broken image and just show the actual file name for that image rather than the image itself. So we need to prepare our image for going live with our digital document. So we're going to select to save and publish. And then you can select the execute button and it will upload that image to your website. Now you can see here my front cover image is showing in the upper left-hand corner. Now if you have a website where you have a lot of images, sometimes the image doesn't always pop up in the upper left-hand corner, but if you put your cursor in the filter field and you start typing in the first couple of characters of that file name, then it'll pop right up for you to be able to select it. And it'll show you a preview of what that front cover is going to look like. The next field that you're going to need to pay attention to if you fill in and actually upload or add an image for your document from the image field is the image description. Now this is where you're going to provide a brief text description about what is showing in that image that we just uploaded. So in this instance, we can say front cover of booklet. Doesn't have to be super detailed. This is only for people who are using assistive technology who cannot see the image, to have some kind of a description so that they understand what is being represented on the page. Next are a couple other image related fields. These are where you can upload custom crop images of your the image that you just uploaded. 3x2 is for social, so that's going to be a horizontal image, which is already challenging because this is a portrait image to begin with. Some content types are easier to create that horizontal image than others. And square image tends to be used with different types of feeds on websites. The horizontal image feed will also be used for the digital document listings. So when we look at this particular listing, it is utilizing that 3x2 format to show the front cover there. So if you have custom crops of these two types of images, then you can upload them, but that would be in addition to having your image field filled in, not either or. Next is the file field, and this is where you can upload the document version of your digital document. If you are needing to upload a document, it is best to make sure that it is web accessible so that it meets the standards for the university policy that we have on accessibility. If you want to learn how to make your document accessible, you can go to webaccess.msu.edu, and there are tutorials and other help and checklists and that kind of thing that can help guide you through the process of remediating a document. The other purpose for uploading a file is if you need to have a printable version of the document, then it is available in that format. Otherwise, if your document is 6 pages or less, then a lot of times it's just easier to repurpose that same content in this content field here and then format it with the links and images and graphics that you might be using in your document. That way you don't have to upload an actual file. Now, in the off chance that you are going to upload a file, you're going to do that same process where you're going to select the browse button like what we did for the image. It's going to look exactly the same in that process. We're back at the select file window. You're going to select the plus sign, drill into your website folder where you're going to save your digital document, go to your uploads, and this time it's going to be your files folder. And there's a few files that are here, but it's not actually the digital document that I want to upload. So I'm going to select my upload new file again, select files to upload, and then here is my document here that I want to add to the site. I'm going to click open, and I'm going to do my due diligence and select for save publish and execute. And now you can see my new document has been uploaded, so I can select for that. And now you'll have your document that will be available. When you publish your digital document, if it includes that file, then it'll show here with this download file option. If you do a digital document that doesn't actually have an upload with it, it won't have that download file. But instead the entire document will be repurposed as the main content for this particular type of web page. So those are the two different ways that you can post your digital documents, one with a file and one without. All right, then we have date published, and while it's not a required field, again, it is highly recommended that you input this information. The reason for this is because if you have one of these digital document feeds, if you don't actually have a date selected for your digital document, that will automatically prompt it to show up at the bottom of your listings. So in this particular example listing, you can see there's a webinar recording from the 24th, the 2nd, and April 28th. So you can see that they're in order, and they're listed out in that particular order because the date has been selected. So if you do want to select for the date, it doesn't necessarily have to be the date that you're posting it into dotCMS. So for example, let's say your digital document was actually published last week, so let's say on June 23rd, then you could select for that date, whatever the actual published date is for your event rather than your posting date. There is a time field here, but you don't necessarily need to fill that in. You can skip that. There is a bookstore product code field here. You can skip that as well. It doesn't really apply to most digital documents that get posted. Then we get to this author field, which also isn't required, but again, it is highly recommended that you fill in this information. So you can do this a couple of different ways. So for example, you can see here with this digital document, we're just linking back to, we've inserted the name of our organization instead of having specific author names listed. And then in this example, you can see that there are some names that are listed that don't show any organization affiliation. Some of them are linked and some of them are not. In these particular instances, these two people have profiles in dotCMS in the system. And so we've made a person relationship to these person profiles so that once we publish the digital document, it links over to their profile and it'll actually show these digital documents on their profile. The people that don't have the links, it means there isn't a profile for them in the system. So you can do a combination of organization name and person name, or one or the other, however you want to handle that. But again, it's best to actually have some information about who the author is of this particular document. So for my purposes, I'm going to select for Jane User. And then that will fill in that field. When I make the relationship, which that's a different tab that we will go over, I'll show you how to make that person relationship so that that will then get linked onto the profile as I just showed the example for. Now the content tab, this is where you're going to do one of two things. If your document is a short document, you can copy and paste the entire document right into this field. And then as I mentioned earlier, you can reformat it so that it has all of the proper headings and hyperlinks and photos and graphics and that kind of thing. Or you can use this field to include a more thorough summary of information about the document than what was actually posted in the summary field, which was really short. So the example that I have to show for an executive summary approach, this particular document happens to be 30+ pages long, and so we actually just repurposed the entire executive summary as the main body text for this particular digital document. Having this kind of content description can make it easier for your document to be found for search engines. So it's best to have as much information in here as you can to provide some of that background information and whatever it might need. Now, if it's for a webinar and we're talking about you know, a webinar which might not have a document upload, you might provide an overview of what that webinar was about, and then you can embed the video for that particular webinar right onto the screen. So that's another way for digital documents, how you can show those different types of content. All right, so in this content area, I am going to show you the option where you can copy and paste your document right in there. So I'm in my PDF document. I'm just going to select for copy the first page of my document. Sorry, my PDF is not playing well with me here. Copy that first page. I'm going to paste it into my content tab. Now you can see here that it didn't come over completely formatted like it was in the PDF version. So in this particular instance, you're going to want to select the content that did paste over, and there is this clear formatting button. And you'll notice that once I've done that, it has reverted this content to use the styles that are available with this template, so the paragraph template. So this is that instance where I mentioned where you're going to need to format this content. Sometimes you'll paste content over and the formatting will come through and you won't have to do too much work, and sometimes it'll bring over more work for you to have to do in terms of production for that content. So there is a video for how to format the content for your WYSIWYG editor area here, this content area. So more of those details can be provided in there. Just to get you started with this, so for example, this tools and techniques content is actually a heading. So I'm going to go into my paragraph drop down and select for the heading style. And then I actually have some bullets that are showing here. For accessibility purposes, it's good to make sure that your bullets are formatted. Now these bullets look like they might actually come through as bullets, but we have a bullet list option in our WYSIWYG editor, and it is not highlighted, which means it's not yet formatted in dotCMS. So I'm going to select for bullet list. And then as you can see here, it's starting to make some of that content into that bullet list format. So I can remove that bullet and then turn the rest of that content into bullets as we move down the list. So that's how you can make sure that your content actually gets formatted with the proper bullets. Now let's say you have a hyperlink that you need to make as well. You would just select for that content, and then there is an insert edit link option. And again, in that WYSIWYG editor overview video that I mentioned, there will be details on how to create hyperlinks. There will also be details about how to insert and edit an image in your digital document. And there's also information on how to insert and embed that YouTube video. So like for that webinar recording, how do you actually get that YouTube video to show up embedded in your particular document. So you will go through and then format this content, or as I mentioned before, if this is going to be, you know, more of that executive summary kind of information, just whatever the basic overview is for this document, then you would copy and paste that text in here and then go through the process of formatting that. In terms of other tabs that you are going to want to pay attention to, I mentioned before that there's a relationships tab. And so there are some steps you're going to want to take here related to your digital document. Now there's a few different types of relationships that you can make for a digital document. What you're going to want to pay attention to most is going to be the organization relationship, the data set relationship, And then maybe that person child author relationship. That's how you would actually get a relationship made for that author field. So it has the link to the profile and whatnot. In terms of an organization relationship or a data set relationship, it depends on what type of website that you have that you're working within. Organization websites tend to be departmental websites, the college website, the overarching MSU extension website, that kind of thing. And then data set sites tend to be those academic program sites, county office websites for extension, some of those topic websites for extension. So when you go in to make a relationship for your website, often it will help to prompt you as to which type of relationship that you're going to need to make for which type of site you have. So for example, if I want to make an organization relationship, I can select this relate button and it will bring up matching results dependent upon the type of website that I have permissions to. So in this particular instance, I'm going to select for demo organization. You can see the check mark shows up, and then I can select relate. And now I have that organization relationship showing. And it would be the same process if I was going to make a data set relationship. You're going to select the relate button, and then you can see there's different data set relationships that are available that you could select for. Now with your permissions, you might not have both options available. It most often will tend to be one or the other. So you'll be able to tell which type of site you have based on which relate option shows that matching results for you. And then for this person-child field, this is where you're going to select the relate button, and then this will bring up matching results for profiles that you have access to. So for example, Jane User is the author of this document, so I can select for her name and select the relate button, and now you can see that that child author relationship is now showing in the field. Now you can have multiple authors, which means you can also have multiple person-child author relationships. So as I showed in this particular example, there are two different people with linked profiles, and they're showing also as authors down here at the bottom with their profiles that are also linked. So you can have multiple authors that show up in that particular field. Now in this particular example, because we have a relationship to the National Charrette Institute on the relationships tab, and we included their name in the author field, that is also why we have this website that is linked in that author field. So that's kind of how that works in terms of the relationships. And then in tags, depending on what type of website you are posting on, you might have to fill in one or both of these fields. Most often you're going to fill in the resource tags, but let me talk about this type, category type field here for just a moment. If you're working on a website where you're going to list out multiple different types of digital documents, then you might need to select for a category to have it filter into the proper listing. So for example, if you select for a category type, that link, then you'll see all the different types of digital document listings that you could include. So if you have a book listing and you have a report listing and you have a papers listing and it's all on one page, but it's differentiated by headings, then you can, and your document that you're uploading right now happens to fit one of those criterias, then you would be able to select for book if it was a book, and then select the X box, and now you can see that that category type is showing under the type field. As I mentioned, not all websites have this type of a listing on their site. So if you don't, and you just have one feed for all of your digital documents, you do not need to select for this type, category type. So I'm just going to remove that here. In terms of resource tags, this is going to be where you're going to fill in tags related to your website and then tags related to that digital document. So you're going to put your cursor in the tags field, and this particular document is related to the National Charrette Institute. So I'm going to start typing that in. And you can see here that as soon as I start typing, it starts prompting me with tags that are in the system that I might want to select for. So I'm going to select National Charrette Institute. And this is related to charrettes. So I'm going to type that in as well. And you can see there's a couple of different charrette related tags. And this happens to be a document for community engagement. And there happens to be a tag related to that. Now, let's say you have a tag that you want to use that's not in the system. So let's say scooter happens to be a tag that you might want to use. Now you can see here there's no pre-set tags that I can select for. So all you need to do to create a new tag is click on the Enter key on your keyboard, and that puts the square around it like these other preset tags. And then when you save or publish your digital document, that new tag will go live. So that takes care of the tags tab. The date tab you can skip, and then the analytics tab, once you publish your digital document, you will be able to have analytics generated based on how many visits people do related to that particular digital document. So you'll be able to go in here and check on that once you have your document published for a little bit. So we've gone through all of the tabs and all of the content that we need to do. Again, you would want to make sure that your content tab field has all the important content filled in. And then you're going to take some kind of a publishing action. You can select to save draft, which will save it to the back end. Unpublished, you can then go back in and work on it periodically until you're ready to actually publish it. And then when you are ready to publish it, you can select the publish button. Selecting the publish button will automatically push it live, and assuming it is linked over to one of those digital document listings or linked within content that you've posted on your site, then it will show up on your website. And this check links button, this is related to your content field here. If you've input hyperlinks, which a lot of digital documents have those, then it will check the links before you publish it to let you know if any of your links are broken. And if they are, then it will flag an error for you so you know to go in and fix it. Outside of that, it should just regularly publish your document. So for my purposes, I'm going to select to save draft. And it tells me that my URL field must have a unique name. So let's try that one more time. And now my content has saved. So that's the basics of creating a digital document in dotCMS. As I mentioned before, there is a training video on how to create content in dotCMS, and there is a video for the WYSIWYG editor in this section of training videos. So you can go to https://anr.msu.edu/anr.com/social-media-website/training-materials, and that will get you to this content that you need for that training video. Those same videos are also available right in dotCMS. So I'm going to close out of my digital document, and you'll find the help video here, help tab, and there is a video section. You click on it a couple of times, it'll bring that up, and that WYSIWYG editor video is also available in this area. So that's the basics of what you're going to need to know to create your digital document.